Okay, so you bring up Dallas, which of course people still feel like that was rigged just because of the way it went about, the way the Mavs season went. We see that. But looking at the draft lottery, right? So the Mavs made it clear they will not be trading their number one pick, and they said they plan to draft Cooper Flagg. So I kind of want to focus on the different NBA markets, right? If Cooper Flagg were to evolve into the face of the league, do you think he would be able to exceed that on a team like the Wizards or the Hornets, or do you just think that's not possible? Because on the flip side in the NFL, right, you have big superstars, which we arguably say Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now. He's in Kansas City. Do you feel like that's the same for the NBA or no?
I think the best player has always been in one of those type of markets. You look at Shaq. Shaq was like the most dominant player, but he was down in Orlando, and you see what happened. They got him to L.A. You know, when you think of Jordan, he was in Chicago. You think of Magic Johnson, again, in L.A. All the time when there's been like some of the best players, they always been in big markets. So when you look at somebody like Cooper Flagg, there's nothing wrong with Dallas. Dallas is definitely a big market, and it's one of the top 10 cities in the United States. So I think of definitely Texas as a place you want to be, if you're especially as a Caucasian superstar.
And then just to clarify, so you don't think he would do so well on a team like the Hornets or maybe the Wizards or even the Jazz? Because
you don't want Cooper Flagg in Charlotte. Now, if he was in Utah, he would still do phenomenal in Utah because they got the fan base for that. You know, but I wouldn't put.
Or she's saying like a face of the league in those
in Utah.
Yeah, that's what she's saying. Not if he's going to do well.
Yeah, I think he could be the face in Utah. Out of all of the other cities that are more popping, because you got the fan base that'll cover that.
Okay, what do you think?
And present the question exactly. Just basically, will he be the face of the league in the teams that you named that aren't doing?
Yeah, in a smaller market.
To me, it's about winning. It isn't. To me, of course, you want them to be in a big city or a big market. Absolutely, 100%. But if the Washington Wizards went to the Eastern Conference Finals, yeah, he could be the face of the league. I'm talking about if he was on the Washington Wizards. When you win, that solves everything. Yeah. When you're not winning, it doesn't matter. Cleveland is not a big market. LeBron James was the face of the league, whether you want to say the face of the league. He's the face of the league in Cleveland. For years, Cleveland is not a big market, but you win. And not saying he won the first time around, but he won enough for them to be the face of the league. Then he went to Miami and then comes back to Cleveland again and goes to 4 straight championships and wins one. You know what happened with KD coming to Golden State, et cetera. But when you win, that solves everything. So yes, Cooper Flagg could be the face of the league eventually, but it also comes with winning, and not just winning, being the dominant player on the winning team. So I think that Mase is correct when you definitely want a player in a big market, 100%. But does it have to be? I don't think that it has to be, but you have to win also. You can't go 12 and 70 and be like, well, the nigga was averaging 40, we gonna make him the face of the league. No, you have to, for coming with the face of the league, it ain't like you gotta be the champions yet, as much as we say Ant-Man, or we know Jason Tatum has a title now, or he's saying John Morant, who doesn't have a title, who could have been the face of the league they were talking about. They have no titles, but they're looking for somebody to give it to. They're doing everything in their power, and it's that obvious that you could have gave it to somebody by Luka like by now. You could have gave it to somebody like the Joker right now. You could have gave it to somebody like SGA, who's potentially getting there right now. But you want an American. I get it. We don't want to submit as America and as the NBA that the face of the league be somebody who's not American. Because you could have been advertising overseas players for a minute now to be the face of the league. That's why I said you got a homegrown white nigga. It is a difference from having a white person that's not from America than having a white person that's from America. Why do you think the people went so crazy for Caitlin Clark? It's not just America, it's middle America, which is really just Eminem land. You get what I'm saying? When you in middle America doing the things that she was doing, this is the results, the views, the sponsorships, the TV ads, everybody's a spectacle around what she's doing to where they want her to play with the men in 3-on-3 and ice. It's all type of shit when you're white American and you're as good as you are. So Cooper Flag just got to do what he needs to do. On this team presently constructed with the Dallas Mavericks, he could definitely be beneficial. We know Anthony Davis is not consistently healthy, even though he's been playing a lot of games the last 2 seasons. Kyrie's not coming back to the middle of the season, December or January. This could be your time to really shine at the beginning of the season. Anthony Davis is not a ball-dominant person. Cooper Flag, actually, I seen him at the Combine. He actually grew an inch. He's 6'9" now, 240 pounds. That's great basketball height and size pause. Like, my nigga, you 6'9", 240, 18 years old. He actually, but a lot of people don't know about Cooper Flag this year in Duke that he played. He's still supposed to be in high school, technically, as he skipped a year forward because his grades and so on and so forth. But he was really a senior in high school this past year that he played at Duke. So basically, if he went to Duke again next year, which he'd be technically a sophomore, it really been his freshman year coming up. Kid got a lot of time and a lot of potential. If I was Dallas, I doubt I'd trade him too. Even though I know Giannis, you could probably win now, but you can't buy that white, man. You can't buy that good old American white. You can't do it.
That was crazy, but
you reaching on. I know all show. I see you on my peripheral. All show I see him. Can't wait. He mad at me because he won't play in Jimmy. He mad at me.
I can't buy that white was crazy, but
that's reaching. You can't buy that white. That's super duper. We go to court about that. Come on, you can't buy that white. Come on, man. I don't know what you thinking about. What's on your mind, man? I have no idea. You can't buy that white. I would think you think about cocaine before anything else. When you talk about white, as a Harlem nigga, I'm just thinking first thing white would be cocaine from where we grew up, but maybe not in Jacksonville. I don't know if you Floridian murder Harlem world. I don't know what Mase I'm getting from day to day.
Okay, so looking at some of the last games and obviously taking out Jokic and Tatum, but what player do you think has the best storyline for winning their first ring if they were to advance? Looking at Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Haliburton, and SGA.
I think that's a good question, but I more so because of some of the stories off the court, I wouldn't say Anthony Edwards. I think actually Haliburton has the best story when you think about him being a guy that wasn't no star when he was in high school, getting to college, now becoming a star in the NBA and winning in this market of Indiana. Just like you got Carlisle who gets kind of like walked out of Dallas and he wins in Indiana. There's a lot of great stories with this Indiana team. There's really no one person that's doing this. Even you got Siakam that had some hard times down there in Atlanta. He get to Indiana, he get a ring. That I think Indiana would be the best story. And then it will be OKC.
Okay, so you
but the Knicks actually would be the best story. The best story would be New York. If New York won the championship, oh my goodness.
Are you celebrating?
I would have to go to the party. They might not let Cam in, but I'm not one
of them niggas that care about being where everybody at anyway. If I can't control the environment, a lot of times I don't like to be there anyway. My bad, I ain't gonna cut you off.
We're the same on that.
Actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying New York would be the best story. Like, they would never stop partying.
Okay, so New York is the best story overall. As far as specific player, Haliburton, then you're going SGA, and last you're going Anthony Edwards because of his off-court stuff.
You just when you think of story.
Okay. I'm going to get back to that, but I want to get Cam's answer, and then we can kind of compare.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about players, I agree with Mase first take before he switched up and went to the Knicks. I think Tyrese Haliburton, to me, would be the best story because and Ant-Man as well, because Ant-Man, like Mase said off the court, we always talk about baby mothers and lawsuits, paternities and all this, but he had deaths in his family and dealt with a lot of personal things that a lot of young niggas wouldn't be able to handle as well as he's handling it as a 23-year-old that had to been dealing with it for a few years leading up to this. So personal stories outside of basketball, it might be Ant-Man because of the deaths in his family that he's been dealing with for the last few years. But if we're talking storylines, I'm going with Haliburton because he's not even from Milwaukee. He's from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Wherever Oshkosh is, shout to Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I'm not sure if it's a lot, just listening to people talk about, it's not a lot of basketball prospects that's considered to go to the NBA. Then he wasn't drafted high. Then he isn't, people are mad he's on the Olympic team and they're saying he's an overrated player just a couple weeks ago. Top actually voted the #1 overrated player. And this is actually in his young career, his second trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. As much as we love Jalen Brunson, and I know we was hobbled last year, and we love the Knicks because the Knicks are a New York franchise and they haven't won in 50 years, haven't been to a conference finals in 25 years. It'd be a great story for New York. But we're talking about personal triumph stories, and from the question of stat presented, which player? To me, it's Ant-Man, what he's overcome personally, and then Tyrese Haliburton after that.
Okay. And then just back to your point really quick. I know you said Ant-Man's off the court issues, but how much do you think that takes into a play? Just how much, basically where he's gotten to at this point in the series and what he's done. Like, does that make a big difference to you? Or do you feel like that can kind of be swept under the rug? Like, how do you feel about that? What's your stance?
I now that I heard what Cam said, I understand Ant-Man a little bit more. But I still stick with my answer because I just think it'd probably be sending the wrong.
Okay.
What you want, nigga? Everything, nigga, super size. Two Big Macs, like when they doing them 2 for $5.